Good morning, everyone. Hope you're having a great day. It is Hannah and Lindsay here. We are your friendly Edmonton recruiters with Robert Half, and we are here to talk about the third career projections and pathways out of our series of 3. So I am going to be talking about business intelligence and data-related careers in Edmonton, and Lindsay is going to kick us off by talking about payroll-related positions. So Lindsay, I'll let you go to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Payroll, really big topic, and actually our busiest job consistently that we ever fill. I feel like it's always a tough time. I feel like we're always kind of filling payroll positions. So this is definitely something if you're kind of on the fence about, I think you should definitely go for it. It's always an in-demand position. So also it's just kind of off the start. Kind of how do you become a payroll professional? Number one, education. Kind of the most I've heard is that there's a great program at NAIT, specifically that does a payroll program over there, but just going in and getting kind of your emphasis in payroll. I believe it is a 2-year course over there at NAIT, so nothing too crazy. And then from there, a lot of companies that we're seeing in terms of certifications of what they are looking for is 1 or 2. So your PCP, so payroll protection or payroll certification, sorry. And then also kind of your CPM if you want to move up into kind of that managerial level. That's definitely one you'll definitely have to get. If you are looking to that, we're just seeing a more from our clients request those 2 certifications to kind of go from there. Some of the soft skills, what more that we're hearing from our clients is that it's kind of a customer service role where you're, kind of always dealing with employees, always wanting to provide information rather than kind of being correct all the time. So definitely having to have those soft people skills for sure, and being able to just communicate and share information with everybody. I know payroll is definitely a stressful position, so just being able to kind of explain it to other employees about what's going on and why this happened, I think is definitely crucial in terms of your soft skills there. Technical skills, just in terms of software, in terms of unions across the city, there's plenty to know. My definite suggestion is just kind of getting your feet with numerous softwares. There's a lot of good training on different softwares. We even kind of have a training area called Skillport, and it'll actually take you through on how to learn that software and how to do payroll in it. It's definitely something I recommend. It's always good to have on a resume. You just never know what kind of software companies are using, so it's definitely a good thing to have. In terms of kind of progression, so you're going to start off kind of as your entry-level payroll clerk or admin or even time entry. That's kind of how you get your foot in the door and then hopefully progress up. So kind of that payroll admin, payroll coordinator, and then eventually payroll supervisor or manager. And then there is even some companies who have payroll directors, just in terms of how big that company is and the scope of it. So that's kind of your career trajectory from a payroll position. And those are kind of the titles and progressions you're wanting to make throughout your career. Yeah, and I'm going to hand it over. Oh, sorry, Hannah, you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question. Couple questions. So where in the organization does payroll normally fit in? Is it normally under HR or the finance section? Where does it align?
Yeah, great question. It actually depends on the organization. I've seen it both in kind of that HR kind of, sector, and also in that kind of accounting and finance function. It's just one of those in-between roles where you are dealing kind of like with human resources, but you're also doing the an accounting and finance function. So it's definitely kind of one of those in-betweens. I think it just depends on the companies. It also depends if you're also doing benefits. There are different kind of silos where you're just calculating and running pay, or you're doing payroll and benefits, which is something I also suggest getting experience in. It will just kind of broaden your horizon and also make you more attractive to employers.
Yeah, so if you're a new graduate who is wanting to get into payroll, do you recommend actually starting maybe with temp positions to get that exposure in the market and in technologies?
Absolutely. You know what? I think every new grad, I think you should be going to a temp position. I mean, obviously, if you can get a permanent position, then absolutely go for it. But I definitely tell everybody, you know, with the temp positions, you're going into different situations. You're going into different payroll runs and different ways they're doing it. There's a lot of different intricacies within payroll and how many things you have to calculate. Like, it's absolutely crazy. Myself, I came from Go Auto, so they were having to calculate like 5 or 6 different types of pay runs, which is very stressful. So I think getting just different experiences and again, that different software exposure is super important.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's the same for what we see in a lot of tech roles is that starting in a temp position on a help desk or desktop support, you get that exposure, so much more exposure than you would if you started and stayed in one company for 5 years, right? So definitely
Yeah.
something we recommend on tech side too.
Yeah. And I would just say, even like more so for now, if you are looking for a role, if and you weren't open to temp, I would definitely suggest being open to temp or even part time. A lot of companies right now don't have, from what I've been hearing, to be able to hire someone on full time. So they are trying to do that temp route and that part time, but with the intentions of bringing that person on full time down the road. Just kind of something that I've been hearing from my clients. I don't know if you're hearing the same.
Yeah, absolutely. We're definitely hearing the same. Yeah. And I'm going to switch gears a little bit and we're going to talk a little bit more about data related roles in the technical sector. So data actually fits sometimes under the finance team as well. So data analysts are sometimes working in finance departments. And you can see data analyst roles, we can see report development positions, we see business intelligence roles, we see data science roles. There's really a huge range of titles for these positions, but ultimately all comes down to taking existing information that companies are collecting, usually through ERP systems or sales data, taking that information and translating it into something really useful for the business. So a business intelligence position, that's exactly what you're doing, is you're sometimes taking that back-end data, which might be a complete mess in the database. You have to figure out what is going on there, organize it so that then you can actually pull useful information from it and present it in a way that is understandable to people who maybe don't have a technology background and can't look at numbers and just see what you mean, right? So someone who's able to present that data really effectively and then communicate that to senior level business people. So that is a business intelligence position. Their data analyst role is just the analysis piece of it. So they might not be dealing with the back end of the data. They might not be presenting it in a way that, liaising with business users. They might not be doing that, but they're doing the actual analysis, the technical work. And then data scientists use data to predict and model future potential events. So this has really been an area that has been important over the last little while. And actually in Edmonton, we are a thriving data science community. It's a hub globally for data science and has a globally amazing reputation. There's some amazing different groups that work in machine learning and doing all of these like automations and programs that rely on data science and data modeling in order to be accurate and predictive and helpful. So we have like the Alberta Machine Learning Institute in Edmonton. We have a bunch of really cool programs and a really amazing technology department at the U of A that just pumps out master's degrees people in data science. So the data community is amazing in Edmonton. It is thriving at the moment and looks like it's going to continue for a long time. So basically, if you're looking to get into a data science role, really a master's degree is critical. It's not something that you can do with, like a basic degree in mathematics. I mean, you probably could start there, but you're going to want to pursue that master's degree to be competing with all the other data scientists in Edmonton specifically. And our talent here is reputable globally. So if that's something you're interested in, we want to keep you in Edmonton, obviously, but people want to steal you across the world. So that's a good thing to know too. For business intelligence, you can actually get into it so many different ways. So I've seen people who have done like bachelor's degree in economics or in mathematics or computer science, people who have gotten into it just because they started as a developer or a programmer and then eventually moved more into the data side of things and became business intelligence specialists. So it's a really varied way. Really, the key things that you need to be successful in that role is to have a really good understanding of the technical components, how to organize the data, how to organize databases, and then also have a business understanding. And this has been really critical for all of my clients. They're looking for people who have really strong business understanding where they can talk to business users, they can talk to people in different departments, they can understand what they're trying to communicate, and can then add value by bringing the data that's actually useful. So they're not, you're not having a business user want data for X and then a technical person delivering data for Y. That's not very useful, right? So it's understanding what that data needs are and then presenting that information to them well. So those are some of the skills that you need, that business understanding as well as kind of the technical. There's a ton of different programming languages you can use on the back end for kind of database related work. So a lot of work is going on in Python for data, lots of work in SQL, SQL, or Oracle database. So MySQL, NoSQL, all of the SQLs essentially. So if you have experience with SQL programming and that's something that you really enjoy, that backend piece might be for you. And then on the front end, developing dashboards or visualizing that data, there's two primary technologies that are used. So there's Power BI, which is in the Microsoft suite to use, and there's also Tableau. And they kind of are the two primary tools that are utilized across the board in organizations. Some companies are still using Excel and VBA, but it's a lot less common. Usually there are little smaller companies maybe that don't have as much data usage in place because Power BI and Tableau are just much more powerful tools that are also a little simpler to use as well. So those two are what I'd recommend spending time on if you're interested in getting into reporting or business intelligence positions. And the career progression, it really, really varies. Basically from business intelligence, you can jump into more of a business role. So head into more of the finance kind of direction, taking that information that you have, financial data, and understanding how to implement it and use that to do some financial analyst work if you pursue some certifications down that pathway too. And then the other option is to stay pretty technical and stay in kind of the IT department and move into maybe some IT director level positions from a senior business intelligence manager. And then on the data science side, this is where we get into kind of machine learning director type roles once you get really high up in data science and predictive modeling and that kind of thing. But within this group, there's so many avenues you can go with your career that it's not as simple as like step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. So it's something to keep in mind that you will definitely be essentially in charge of your career progression, and you have to really understand what parts of the job you enjoy, what parts you want to maintain, and what parts you want to let go of as you pursue and continue in your degree or in your career, because otherwise you might find you're in a position that completely misaligns with the parts of the position that you enjoyed initially. So it's something to just pay attention to, I think, for all of us honestly in our careers, but especially when you do have so many different options of which direction you can go.
Yeah.
So that summarizes that.
Yeah. So if a company is not utilizing, or they don't have like a data scientist or business analyst on that side, what are some ways that they could kind of utilize that towards a company? I know there's probably some companies who don't have that, but they're like, okay, what can that person do for me?
Yeah, so if you are a company that uses a system, any system, so an ERP system, HRIS, basically any system, it is collecting data. And that data can be utilized for a whole number of things. So an HRIS system, you can look at turnover rates of employees. You can look at what could you change that would make employee turnover rates better or worse. You can look at overall performance statistics, and you can, again, predict what might be changed and what could stay the same in order to help really bring out the best of your team. If you're looking at ERP information, obviously that encompasses so many different things, but you can work on managing risk in your organization. You can work on sales data and just being able to communicate that effectively so that you can actually see, you know, this is really what we're doing for sales and this is how much it's costing us to do that. And sometimes we have a sense of it, but visualizing it just is a much more compelling and understandable context. So we've seen a lot of that. But really, if you're wondering if you have data that is not used, the answer is probably yes. You probably do have data that is not used. I think that's consistent across the board. But reach out to us. We would love to have a conversation and see if we can just help suggest ways that you might be able to use your data more effectively, because it's especially important heading out of this season into the next. You want to be running in a way that is efficient, that is optimal, that is lean, and that's honestly going to be helping you recover. And understanding and using your data effectively is a really, really important way of doing that. And you're going to be competing with companies that do understand their data. So that's something to just keep in mind, and something I've definitely been chatting with clients about a lot. Cool. So to wrap things up, as always, thank you so much for watching. We hope this was really helpful if you are considering or currently in pursuit of one of these two kind of career paths. We are here to answer your questions anytime. Shoot us a message, email, phone call. We are available. So is all of our team. So if you're connected with one of our colleagues, connect with them if you have any questions. Follow us on YouTube and LinkedIn and all the places that we have things, which is, I think, those two. And ask us any questions on there too, and like and share this with anyone who you think it might be helpful with. So as always, thank you so much, and we will see you next time.
Hi, guys.